Well, welcome to the budget workshop. This happens once a year, sometimes more than once a year. However, this is a very important meeting because we actually have a copy of the budget on hand here in some sort of a finalized statement, and it looks fairly well. Jay and Karen, he's here. All the department heads, good. All the departments head, and here comes who we're waiting on. Pull up a chair, young man. Pull up a chair. Pull up a chair. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and go through the formal introductions here. We're going to go ahead and do the prayer and the pledges, and we'll proceed on. And then at the next meeting, which will be the regular council meeting, we will not have to do those things because we've already opened up the council with those items. So as we stand, I'll ask Coach Pace to lead us in the opening prayer, and Michael Searcy is going to lead us in the pledges. Coach, can you guide us in the right direction here?
I'll try.
Yes.
Let us pray. Father, I want to thank you for this day. Thank you for life, health, and strength. First of all, Father, I want to thank you for your darling son, Jesus, that died on the cross for our sins. And just ask that you would be with us today as we come and discuss the matters that are at hand. And ask that you would guide our hearts and our minds to do what is best for the city and the citizens of this great community, Father. And just ask that you would bless the food that has been prepared for our bodies, and ask that we would bless our bodies for your service. In your name I pray forever. Amen.
Space the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Tommy, do you need any paperwork over there? Okay.
You got it fixed up.
Okay, good.
Got a bunch of numbers.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get cranked up here. I would assume that probably Jay's gonna start this thing off. He'll probably pass
I'll
it
try to
on.
start it and finish it.
He'll probably pass it to several people here because there's a lot of things going on. So, okay, let's get started. Let me pass the time here. It's 10 after 4. Okay.
All right, number one agenda item here on this was a workshop on the budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And I'll start by saying, you know, with COVID, obviously, it's kind of thrown a kink into how we process and do stuff. Going back to the strategic plan, we didn't really get a chance to meet and talk about that, although we've had a lot of individual conversations and kind of about that, and everybody's, having to communicate a little different in how we do it. But my hat's off to staff, directors, and what you guys have put together. We worked hard back and forth and trying to figure this budget out in a different manner. And so I was like, who is that? Intruder. But I appreciate what we've been able to do so far and putting this together, and Karen, with all of the numbers and the meetings that we've had back and forth, and then again individually with each department, we've been able to come up and pleased to kind of put in front of you a balanced budget. So as we look at it now, just know that we are not looking for money. We're not trying to come up with something to balance and or whatever. What's in front of you is balanced. But we'll go over the everything that we want to go over, everything you guys, council, if you have a question at all, let's talk about. I'll hit the high points as we kind of go through. We'll hit with the department heads, anything strategic plan related to their capital items that they have, or anything that's going to be new, changed to their area. Let them talk specifically about that a little bit, and we'll just run through each department. And if anything pops up, let's just feel free to ask. And department heads, if y'all have something you want to add, then as we go through this, then let's make sure we don't forget to do that. I don't want to skip over something there. Easy enough? Questions before we get started? I'll try to guide us through. Lady, are you good? Can you hear?
I can.
Okay. So the first thing is, just off the top, there's not any salary increases for any of our employees in this budget. during the COVID time, we're seeing a whole lot of other places, other cities even having to go backwards in some of that, doing some layoffs, furloughs. We've been very fortunate not had to do anything like that. We've been able to squeeze blood from a turnip, so to speak, and continue on with what we're doing with our staff. But we've talked about it with directors and the reasons why. In fact, I think I went around talking to all departments and pretty much was able to see everybody face to face, all of our employees, and tell them that several months ago, just to kind of be what we're facing, and just makes sense to do that. Not do any raises right now, regardless of what the money situation looks like. There's some people in our community, just like all other communities, that are hurting with job loss and other things going on. So we always want to take care of our people. The city's always done a great job of taking care of its biggest asset. And so we definitely appreciate that from council standpoint, leadership. But this year, we're just a year that we're going to have to stay as is. And I think everybody understands that. I know all the directors do, and appreciative for where we still have a place to be and to serve our community. So just kind of want to make sure everybody heard that. And then we'll just jump right into the revenue on the first page of your large packet there. If you get lost in here at some point, just let us know. We'll try to guide you back to we're all on the same page. There's a lot of stuff to look at. But we'll just jump in, and then Karen, you jump in if I forget something too, okay, along the way. So your first page here is basically going to be a lot of revenue for general fund. We're talking about the general fund. We've made some projections based off of, historical numbers. You'll see that the sales tax, we're showing an increase on sales tax right off the bat. Even during the COVID times, we've had 2 months where they've been very, very, very strong. For April sales and May sales, we had a 16% increase. It's shown in sales tax. We had a 27-ish% increase for May's sales. And we know those are anomalies, but those aren't going to be continuing. But the number that we're showing there is about a 6.5, a little over 6.5% increase. So we think that that's sustainable. I think right now, with where we are, I'm not sure we're up how much. Karen, do you remember off the top of your head on the current year?
I know that the 2 months that you're talking about, 1 month we were over, same month last year, 75,000, another one, 120,000. So
almost 200 those 2 months.
Just for those 2 months. So that got us, we were probably even up, a little bit. So before we weren't even sure about what we're going to make our budget. I think for sure we'll make our budget. So.
Yeah. So we feel strong there. Pretty conservative number actually on the increase from where we are. So that's what we're looking at on sales tax, franchise fees, and those things are, again, just looking at historical trends and where we are and come up with those numbers. If you move on down to where it says current tax, about a third of the way down your first page, that's going to be the property tax. We were pretty much flat on with the appraisal district this year. You're going to see that number up 100,000 more than it was last year, and I'll let Karen explain why that is. But the appraised values came in almost dead even with where we were last year. I think it was down maybe $20,000 in value is all, and so it's pretty much dead even. But there's $100,000 more there, and I'll let her explain how we got there.
Yes, we have our INS fund that pays our debt payment. And so when you pay your taxes, some is going to maintenance and operations, some towards debt. And so that debt balance in our INS fund we've got a little bit of a fund balance in there, a little over $100,000. So we'll kind of give that information to the tax office so they can bring that amount down in INS, because we've got that extra 100,000 in there. And of course, the difference then would roll over into just regular current tax, but would come into our general fund account. It's just the reason we're showing, even with no increase in property taxes, but that extra 100,000 in revenue for that reason.
So we have the M&O tax rate, which is our maintenance and operations. That's our general fund. We have an INS tax rate, which is your debt. You add those two together, and that's the total tax rate that people see on their tax bill. That total tax rate is going to stay the same. Those other two are just going to do a little adjusting there. And that's where the extra $100,000 come from. We don't need it for the debt side, so it's just gonna move over to the M&O side, and then we'll adjust the total rate. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you, Karen. Those are the main items you'll see also on the garbage and trash. Of course, we've got a different, gonna have a different contractor available for us starting January. So, based off of those numbers, that's where that comes in. So we'll show an increase there.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Looking forward to it.
Water sewer debt management fee, we moved that up 100,000. That comes directly out of the water and sewer fund. That's, if they were a normal public a private entity and it were a utility or whatever, they would be paying the city franchise fees, other taxes. They're gonna pay street use taxes. They're gonna have admin type fees, all those things. So in lieu of all of that, this transfer that comes over to cover that, if they were a normal private entity. So, Karen thinks that she and I do a really good job on the admin side for Randy, and so we wanted to move more money over. It's really just in lieu of taxes. That's because if they were paying taxes and franchise fees and street use fees and all that off the utility number they are, that number is probably still low for what they would be as an entity. So that's just a transfer over to the admin, to the general fund side from the water sewer side, based off all the admin things that the general fund admin group does for the water sewer piece. We want to try to keep that down as low as possible, especially, that's an enterprise fund. It's supposed to work on its own. It's not something that should be always moving money over to the general fund to help it out. It's going to always be moved. Money should be moved to cover the expense of what that enterprise fund generates. It's not just something to come back over and move money to cover operations within the general fund. It should never be done that way. So that's what that number is. Questions? Okay. Moving on down, of course, anything municipal court related, we're showing little decreases there. COVID, court's been kind of closed. A lot of trickling down effects of COVID there. So we're going to just show some different trends, a little bit lower there in the municipal court. We hope here before long they're going to be able to open up and we'll be able to kind of get going again with some of that stuff. But there'll be a new norm with the courts for sure once we get going. Karen, anything else on that first page you want to talk about revenue side? Any changes I missed? Okay.
Jay,
Yes, sir.
under year-to-date actual, is that 8 months?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I ran this, whatever date I ran.
So, period ending July 2020. So
Was that
Around 7/17, so it would be whatever had been entered at that time.
in July. So
So you can't really, some
it's,
of our bills, we were about a month behind,
Well, like for
It's
sales
October,
tax.
it's October to mid-July.
So it's about 9 months. 9 months of.
that's right. 9
we're gonna
months.
have June's payment, most of June's payments probably in here because, some things, July's, it's paid in August is,
Yeah, it's gonna be somewhere between 8 and 9 months, depending on the line item or what it is and what's been paid on the year to date so far.
So for sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Sales tax, let's see.
Since it comes in once a month.
Right.
I've got one more, I think I've got one more to enter
That's all.
for that. No, they should have been in here. I mean, I'll have, not for the end of the year, but no, just for this.
For the end of the year though, so how
Like
many
we
more
just
months,
got
how many more
just-
months will be in here, I think is what he's asking. What do we lack? How many more months in sales tax?
That's
They
a 3
haven't
more.
entered like July,
July,
August,
August, September.
So
Well,
3 more months.
we got 9 months of sales tax, so 3 more.
9 months.
Yeah, so 3 more. Yeah. Good question. I meant to say that when we first started with the year-to-date number would be.
It's based off the month we get the minutes, right? Not the actual month it's collected.
That's right.
Just checking.
Okay. All right. The second page there is the finishing of the revenues. There's a K-9 donations out there. I believe that based off of what we're doing with K-9 and the PD this year, I've told Chad I would expect those donations to continue and increase. I think we put 7,500 in there annually. I would expect the community, as this thing gets going, to really jump on board, and that number I think is probably really low for what we will end up with. But that's where we are. Trying to, as we're starting the K-9 program, just having at it there. So HISD liaison officers, that number staying the same as of right now. We've had some other conversations, but we'll see what the funding looks like and what schools look like as we move forward. But as of right
And I
now,
have a question.
nothing different. Yes, sir.
With the COVID thing
Mhm.
going on, and, it knocked school out or way early. So what does that do to our liaison?
Henderson School District went ahead and honored our contract.
Okay. I didn't know what the contribution
Yes, sir.
method
Nothing-
was there.
nothing
If
changed.
got
They
knocked
still had
out.
their funding as normal and with their budget, and so they continued to fund us that normal. And then those officers then just went into patrol and some other areas instead of being at the school.
So if school starts up late, for instance, then maybe the same thing will happen.
My understanding, they're going to continue on to the contract as it is.
Okay, that's good.
If they have some funding issues, they said they'd let us know, because they are being affected by what the state gives them, because they get paid so much per student per day. So
I got you. Okay, that's good.
Okay. And that's it. That's all. That's the revenue. So what we're seeing is we're showing about $200,000 increase over last year's adopted budget in that revenue piece. So most of that's going to be on the sales tax side. All right. Questions on revenue, general fund? All right, let's move on. All right, finance department is the very next page, page 3. Not a lot of changes there. You'll notice about halfway down on data processing, that number is up over last year's number a little bit. That's going to be basically in code. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the software cost with data processing, and then that's basically all the main difference for the finance department. Everything else kind of transfers over from last year's budget, very similar. No new people, anything like that. A little bit of money in capital for computers and upgrades there, but that's the normal. Any questions on the finance department?
Again, thank you for our new building.
Right.
Been in there about a year now, a little over a year.
Where do you think we are on the transition?
Okay.
Inco.
Oh, as far as Encode,
I know y'all are doing training.
yes,
A lot of
we've done a
training.
lot of training, finding out just how the whole conversion, the data pool for finance is going. So we'll work through it and we'll get there. But so far we're still scheduled for mid-September a go live.
Okay.
Go live date.
We are, and that's why we're speaking about that. With directors, we're talking about current budget that we're in. We want to make sure that those expenditures that are planned in the budget currently that we're in are we're kind of moving ahead of schedule. So if there's anything left that they need to go ahead and pay for, they're going to go ahead and do that right now. So we don't have a lot left at that when we get ready to do the transition from one core system to the other. There won't be a lot of stragglers on the finance side. So any monies that are available in the budget and planned expenditures, instead of holding off, we're gonna go ahead and try to get those done. So that's already happening. So we're seeing. So thank you guys, the directors, guys and girls doing that.
There's one more little piece I'd like to throw in since we're talking about finance department over there. TML is offering a cybersecurity insurance policy for only $170 a year for the entire city. So I didn't know if you were aware of that or you've got
I
that.
think I don't think we have that, but I have heard them.
You need to sign up
We
for
can
that.
swing there, right?
At $170 a year, I think you need to sign up for it because that's money well spent, let me assure you. And that includes it. Anything happens, cybersecurity. We get breached and whatever, so.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
No, that's true. So I
It
think,
doesn't matter what you.
I just want to pass that on to you, so y'all would have that awareness. Okay.
Okay, thank you. No, no, good. Anything else on finance? Not, we'll flip page number 4. Administrative, again, pretty much across the board, the budget is almost identical in expenses to the current budget we're in and the proposed budget that we'll be going into. Not a lot of changes. I was trying to highlight something if there was anything that was going to be a significant change. Cheryl, anything that you can think of that's a significant change for us? Communications have gone up a little bit as we're trying to figure those things out, but we think that might actually come back down. Phone bill is going down a little bit for us. It's in that line item, so that's up a little bit compared to last year, but across the board it's pretty much the same stuff.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Anything on the, I'll try to jump back into, make sure we don't miss anything on the strategic plan too. If there's something there specific, I'll mention that. Oh, I did have one thing there. We talked about this yesterday, Karen. The air conditioning and heating units there at City Hall are, well, they're there.
Yeah.
They've been there for a long time, and I think we're down to, there's one that's messed up on the heater or something, so we're down there's 3 units, and 2 of them are working kind of right, and the other one's not.
We're in fair condition.
There you go. Maybe fair.
It might be a
I'm not
stretch.
sure if fair is a good one. Yeah. So Cheryl had it looked at, and we have a cost to redo those air conditioner and heating units at $32,632.77. So we know that they're going to go out, and they're going to go out at the most inopportune time, whether it's in the middle of winter, in the middle of summer. And when that does, it's gonna create a little problem there at City Hall for us.
All of it is retrofitted already. It's all junk.
Yeah,
Retrofitted
pieced
the
together.
original furnace that was there, and none of it's done right. That includes gutting everything,
Including the ductwork,
including the ductwork,
which is very.
and the return air that all needs to be modified. Yeah, it's in terrible shape. So yeah, that's everything.
Yeah. So that's not in their budget numbers. This is something that, we didn't put it in there. It's a significant cost to do, but it might be something we might want to look at and even, just be able to pull that kind of one time out of reserve. But that's y'all's call if y'all want to add that in there. City Hall, I think it's definitely warranted for that cost and for a full redo. We did all the remodeling of the building that we already did, which looks great. I think that's the only piece that's kind of missing there I say that on the inside. There are going to be some structure issues on the outside that we've already been dealing with a little bit on that building too. But we're piecing that together for now. But the main big piece is going to be that air conditioner and heater. I just don't want to come in the middle of January and it's 20 degrees outside, and I'll be in there by myself with blankets because these ladies will not.
We won't be there.
They'll be over the annex with Karen. Yeah. So anyway, y'all think about that and tell me if you think that's something you want to put in there. Or you can we can talk about that right now. Whatever y'all's thoughts are on it.
Davis, was there any time frame as to the length of this project?
No, but I'm sure it's going to be.
It's going to be quite lengthy.
Yeah, it'll be a lengthy process.
So you would want to do it in the fall or the spring when you had more moderate temperature or something.
Definitely.
I think we're looking at the general construction fund too.
That's right. That's right. We can take it out of the general construction fund, not out of the reserve of the general fund. That's correct. Thank you. It'll be in the construction fund where there's some other monies for that type of projects. So $32,632.
How long is that price?
I think, if I remember, do you remember what it said on the?
I'm thinking he gave it to us for 6 months because I told him it would be
Yeah.
addressed at this
The next
budget.
But
And that was about 2 months.
Yeah, probably so.
So probably need to do it this fall.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it would
For
be
that
good.
price,
I
yeah.
mean,
Never gonna do it.
ultimately, yeah, I mean, we've been patching this thing together for, I've been here 18 years. We've been patching it together at least that long. And it's a miracle that it's, yeah, that it's still,
Yeah.
You're done this fall then.
Okay. We'll add that into the general construction, fund in there, Karen. Glad I opened the book. I missed that one. All right. Okay, anything else on the admin? Okay. Page 5, municipal court. Again, not much, nothing different there. Staffing is gonna be the same as far as number of people. Bless you. Expenses are, we're showing those to be down as well, matching that revenue with some different things, with the court, but, I'm sorry, you just, what's the matter? Y'all laughing, y'all laughing.
Put my mask on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Corona,
thank you. I'll
people start coughing and sneezing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody gets it.
move her to the back of the room.
Somebody move fast.
Right, yeah.
Sniffle or sneeze, we're all stupid.
So again, not much change there from the, on the court budget. There's not a lot to really look at from, strategic plan piece. I'm assuming, what did you have, Cheryl? Let's see. There's some computer stuff. We talked about the courtroom furniture.
Oh, yes.
So is that in the, do we have, we don't have any capital. Let's see.
I believe we had to. I thought we put that under office.
Okay.
Now, I haven't gotten to go over to court because of the COVID, but I believe they did
Yes,
Davis's
remodel.
guys
Did a
did
good job.
Good job. They remodeled over there. And a lot of that came out of this, we had some security money that they
Right.
collecting fees, and so
Mhm.
they were able to get technology and security money from court. that they
Right.
could Use for that.
I didn't put that in. That's not in here.
Okay.
What does the state court cost consist of? Third from the bottom?
That's what they collect in their fees that are due to the state. And so.
That
court-
portion of those citations, the portion of fines that goes to the state.
It's about 80-something%.
So that should be that is a revenue, I guess.
No,
Well,
that
that's
is
it.
what they
No, it's-
remit to the state.
That's the expense that comes out and goes to the state.
Yeah, we collect.
The revenue is over on the revenue side, as far as municipal court money received in, that's all the revenue, that's city's part and the state's part. So then,
You
the part
subtract
that
the
goes to the
state's cut
state,
out of here.
it comes out of the municipal court's budget. So as fees go down, that court cost goes down as well, because it's all percentage of what's collected. So we're the collection agency basically for the state on.
The good thing about
fees.
this whole thing is Jamie says it's gonna be so much smoother. It's all gonna be digital. Most of the court operations and things are gonna be on video.
Yeah, COVID's forcing that.
Yeah, right. And they can magistrates prisoners over this machine right here without having to jockey them down from the
You
jail.
don't have to take somebody from the police department to go
Right,
to jail to fetch
exactly.
them and to bring them over there and watch them.
It's gonna be so much simpler, so much simpler, and much more efficient.
Well,
So
Judge Inland's already got the video magistration
Right,
set up on
exactly.
JP5, and it's a game changer.
it's gonna be good. You're gonna see a whole different court over there. Everything's gonna be different, but to the better.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The truancy fines that the court receives,
Mhm.
isn't a portion of those fines supposed to go to the school? And if so, where would that be on here?
Does it go to the school, are you asking?
Yeah, from what I understood, the fines that were collected for truancy, there's a portion that's supposed to go to the schools. Is that
I'm
not
about
right?
to Google it, 'cause I don't know,
And-
sir.
I believe what happens there is that's part of that state court costs. So after we send the check to the state, they distribute it out underneath them. I will double check with that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I haven't ever seen any checks to schools.
Yeah, I would think it's gonna be
Yeah.
collected.
I did hear, I kind of heard that was an issue, but
Well, didn't they got that law a few years ago,
I don't know.
the legislature?
I know they changed up some fines and fees this last time, either combined some stuff.
I'll check on it for you, though.
Any other questions on court? All right. Community services. Oh, there are numbers in there. Community services. Wow. All right, so, again, not a whole lot different this time. The biggest change last year was and they're still in the middle of trying to do the GIS piece, the City Works piece, and some of the technology things that we're working on. Most of that expense was up front in last year's budget, so not a whole lot different this time around in this year's budget for community services. The high points of plan review. So we're using, and on the very first page, there was a revenue for plan review for the very first time, probably about halfway down. I think it was $5,000, should have been. And then you'll see the same $5,000 expense here on community services. So that's going to be for large plans, construction plans, that, honestly, it's not something we want to be able to do in-house. We want another group and engineers and architects to sign off on that stuff. So we're seeing some more of these type of things come through that we want to get reviewed differently. And so we're going to have that process set up. So we'll collect those fees, and then we'll pay back those things. Be a little bit of a pass through.
Whatever comes in goes straight back out.
Yep. Be a little bit of a pass through. So that's a little different line item that's new this year, added on. Other than that, I don't know of any major changes, Billy.
No, sir. We've got our new Surface Pros in to help us move forward with City Works program, and we'll be getting a couple of printers for the mobile devices, mobile printers for the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to share the mobile hotspot with PD, what I was told.
Yeah, using FirstNet.
First,
They'll have their own individual, each one will. Mm-hmm. So they'll have the.
other than that, we're in good shape.
Yep.
Had a little personnel change, swap with PD. It's working out very well for us.
Okay. Yep.
Got a good dispatcher.
Everything's working out well. It's been good for everybody.
I know.
So the number of bodies is staying the same.
Right.
There in the community services. So any question on community services? All
I
right.
think,
Go.
not to double check, but with what they're doing with the new Surface Pros, some places are looking to try to pass some of that off and get COVID reimbursement.
Mm.
Because it would be a health and safety
Right.
factor
Mm-hmm.
But working
for
out
the
the stuff.
staff, working mobile or
Working
working
mobile.
portable from home. We can't work.
Working mobily.
Mobility in the truck.
Mobily, yeah.
Mobility.
Mobily.
Home is not an option for us.
No, you can't do much,
But you can do it in the truck and
Yeah.
back to the house
Oh, yeah.
They say it's not
instead
in
of
the office.
going into the office.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good idea. I wrote a note down there. We'll talk more about that. See if we can figure that. Something like that. Would be good. We can get use some of that funding for that. All right, page 7, public services. You're gonna notice a different change there in labor operations, that number going down, and that's because you're gonna go in a little bit, we're gonna see parks and you're gonna see it go up. So there's a transfer of some people that have been in this paid out of this department that are now, like we talked about with the parks piece, will be paid in the parks side. So that's why you see a little decrease there in the labor operations. They're not down a bunch of people necessarily. It's just they transferred some of their what they're paid from. high points. Davis, what do you want to hit on?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of, I mean, the high point is the Parks and Rec
Yeah.
part of it, which
Yep.
is kind of getting steadily pulled out of this and put into 18, but there's not a whole lot of difference in any of this. Any of the differences are basically due to inflation, just costing us more. There's nothing that's really out of the ordinary here.
Yep.
More capital money to continue fixing our building, sidewalls and roofs, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Your street sweeper.
Huh?
Street sweeper.
Street sweeper, but I guess we'll talk about that when we talk about the equipment replacement. and all
Yeah, we'll
that
jump in the
stuff.
equipment replacement fund there in short. Anyway, I guess we'll talk about that then. Yep.
So we just put his lease payment in there.
Oh, that's right. So the lease payment is in your budget there that's on,
Well, yeah, let's see if there's.
14.
Surprise.
I guess we'll talk about it now.
We're talking about now,
Just gotta slip that in there.
yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, so we're working with these sweeper companies to try to get a sweeper that on a lease program that allows them to take over all the maintenance. And when I say all the maintenance, it's all the maintenance. Every little brush, broom, I think it may even include tires. I mean, everything that
It
has to
was
do with
everything
it.
short of an oil change, right?
Pretty much, yes, yes. So, that takes that out of our hands and there's a lot of money just in that.
If it breaks, they send you one to use until it's fixed.
They do,
Supposedly.
they do. Yeah, and this is gonna be a testing ground here to see if they can actually do what they say they can do. Because basically the lease option is they're taking care of every bit of the maintenance and we're paying about what we would for a new street sweeper, minus all the maintenance and minus all the knickknacks. So I don't know. I'm not sure how money wise looking at it. I'm not sure how they actually do this, but they claim they can. So we're gonna give them a try.
How long we gonna lease it for?
I think the lease is for 5 years. And so
Do they take the old junk thing that we've got?
They
back?
will give us
Okay.
they will give us a credit on that.
It came from, well, we don't know where it came from. I don't, you do.
Mhm.
It came from somebody,
Yeah,
maybe.
it came from Elgin through,
Elgin, okay.
what's the name of that place?
You know, we've been down for a long time, over a year. No street sweep.
Yeah, it's been a lemon from the
Yeah,
get-go.
it was first up.
Yeah, it's been junk ever since. And the one that has the lease program is the same brand, so I'm kind of leery of that, but I'm also working with Timco and Jay's got to set up with another person to talk to as well for a whole another type of sweeper to see what they offer as far as the lease program.
The good news is if we end up with a lemon and we get a lemon, then they're just.
Right.
Give us
we
another
get
lemon.
lemon. So
Yeah, yeah.
then if we buy this thing outright like we have now, we're kind of stuck with it.
Yes.
And, we've been trying to fix it ever since. So,
And it's just like everything else. There's so many sensors and electrical junk on these things now that you can't hardly work on.
There was the $12,000 on wiring harness one time.
Yeah.
With the factory.
Yeah.
Mine is too tight.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Ridiculous.
So, yeah, like I said, I can't see how they really financially can do this, but we'll see.
Hey, believe me, they can do it because they lease a lot of them.
They have to.
yeah, it'll do it.
A lot of cities around here in Texas that I know about, they lease, they don't buy.
And I think that's a route we need to definitely look at. and move
So that's
forward.
what we're looking at.
And then the older way, you have more than mine.
Yeah, it's
Well,
true.
Will you put it through the test by cleaning up 64 with all the?
Get all the,
That'll definitely
get all
definitely
the
show
bark
one.
off 64, that'll
Yep,
break it in.
that'll
That's
definitely
hard.
test. That and pine straw.
Get that bark out.
And so the decrease in contract services is also showing up in parks.
Will that be landscaping?
Big cake.
Oh, yes. Well, on the mowing piece. So the contract stuff will still be going on for a while as we phase this parks piece in with new staffing and equipment. Like the flower gardens and those type of, things that have to be weeded and all that. The contract group's still gonna be doing a lot of that piece.
If you look in 14, where we're at right now under contract services, it's half of what it would have been. 40,000.
Mm,
Yeah, it would have been 80,000.
mm.
But the difference is showing up in parks,
Well, it's showing up in salaries in parks,
Yeah.
but not.
Man.
not
Not
contract
contract
services,
services.
but
Yes, ma'am.
salaries. Okay.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we want to try to keep weeding down that contract services piece, and it's going to take 2 or 3, 4 years, a little bit every year, for us to get the right funding on it, the right crew in place to do that, all the weeding and the things that need to happen, and do that correctly. In the meantime, I mean, it's just going to little bit by little bit. But right off the bat, we'll take on most all the mowing. So the cemeteries, the civic center, those are all being contracted out right now, and we'll take that on this
Yeah.
next spring, I guess, ultimately.
So that's another contract. The Civic Center, who's doing the Civic?
It's the same.
It's the same one, yeah.
Oh, it
It's
is?
BK, yes. It's a
Oh.
different contract, but it's the
Oh,
same,
okay.
same people.
That does the cemetery stuff or what?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, okay.
but it's different than like Chilo's and some others.
Right. yeah, so, yeah. Yeah,
But Chilo did the beds out here at the Civic Center
Yes,
here a while back. I saw him
yeah,
out there
yes, he
working.
did. That because that's not in their contract
Oh,
to
okay.
do. That's why, yeah, I
Oh,
got
okay.
you.
So you just hired him. Okay, I got you. Okay.
In the end, if we can do that in-house and we can employ people to do that, keep jobs back in our own community to do that type of stuff, benefits and all that goes on. If we can do that better and cheaper in-house, that's what we want to do. It's just going to take us time to be able to transition that and make it work right. But this is the big step, the big start of it. Okay, anything else? Public services? We'll talk more about parks and stuff here in a little bit. Okay. Fire department, page 8. Again, not a whole lot of change. Staffing is body count, I guess. Bad word, bad term, but that's the same number of folks there. You'll about halfway down, you'll see medical. That line item has gone up, and that's going to be I can't read my own writing.
That's gonna be
For
for
the cancer.
pre-cancer testing.
Pre-cancer testing. Thank you. I can't read that. Yeah, pre-cancer testing, and then really the only other thing when you come down to capital this year, the 4,500, that's going to be a new ice machine for Station 2, bunker gear, and a air compressor there for Central. That's what that number consists of on the capital. Anything else, Rusty, that you want to hit on?
The air compressor, big one to the ESD, Thursday night, next to them, the cost share of that, so. Ours is 2003 model, I believe, it's age to it, hopefully we can work it out where that wants to go out to one of the volunteer departments, we get a clear one before we close it, for all the other cancer stuff we're doing.
Yep.
And then, I know I discussed it with a few of you, but we're on our second round of moving everybody over to the admin side because of COVID. So maybe in the upcoming year or two, or you may think about building EMS their own station and letting them pay rent on it, like Kilgore did. We're charging them $24,000 a year on it, and that's just a thought.
There's an idea to get into that later, but it won't be the city.
Okay. Anything else with fire?
We lost some people and trying to replace some people.
You got a fire truck, another cost share with,
Cost share of the ESD also, hopefully, the truck.
And that will be
primarily for
in-
the county, and I'll back up to the city, we're replacing 89 model.
Be a cost share. So what we're going to do there is that we purchase that, be a halfway split with ESD, be $400,000 roughly on the truck. So about $200,000 with the city's total cost. And we're just going to go take advantage of the cheap money at banks right now and just finance that thing instead of trying to take it out of our equipment replacement. We got some other things that we're trying to do with parts and other things right now. So it works out where the money's cheap with rates. So we'll do that. So that is back into and that new debt payment in
that's
here.
the fire truck lease payment, you'll notice went up, 20,000. So
Yes.
that's our estimate, kind of estimated payment.
Yeah, third line from the
Paying
bottom
our
of that.
part out in 10 years or so.
So that's just a normal replacement on that truck. That's been on the strategic plan. Like, Russ does a good job with that fleet, knowing, we kind of know what's coming up each year. Try to plan for that, with them, and then, of course, PD and public services, all those big things that happen back and forth. So, no surprises on that one. Good plan for. Okay, anything else on fire? Police. Next, on page 9, Chad, if you wanna, I'll let you, I'm trying to flip back and forth on the different stuff, but you probably know it better than me, so feel free to jump in and talk about what's in yours too.
Well, on the body count, as you say,
Body count.
we're going to try to add a dispatcher
Yep.
this year that'll allow our supervisor to actually be able to supervise all the shifts, more of a Monday through Friday type job, so she can actually supervise. Currently, she's on 12-hour shift and is unable to deal with the other shifts. Our K9 program that everybody's been hearing about, our first patrol K9 will hit the street next week. We'll be back to training, so our dog will be out there. And there's a little bit of a kennel pay thing that's in this new budget as well. General construction, did you want to talk about that now, or?
We can come to that, we'll come to that in a minute, I guess. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And the vehicle purchase, you want to wait on that, or go ahead and talk about our opportunity?
You go ahead, you know.
We have an opportunity. We kind of forged a relationship with Freedom Dodge up in, and Freedom Chevrolet up in the Metroplex, is who we've been dealing with for the last several years. He, for some reason, really likes Henderson and Kilgore. There was 5 Tahoes left in the nation that were police packages. He saved some from Kilgore for us if we wanted to jump on an opportunity to go ahead and purchase those this year. It would be the same price as last year. The Tahoes are going to change body styles on the 2021, and so the price is going to increase by $5,000 or $6,000. We go ahead and purchase those this year, which is an agenda item for the council. We're going to go ahead and purchase those this year. That'll save us between $10,000 and $12,000, which we'll be able to pull out of the capital for the PD for next year.
That's an action item for a council meeting after this meeting, to possibly go ahead and purchase those ahead of schedule, and we'll save $10,000 or $12,000 on the cost by purchasing this budget versus next year's budget.
Which we subtracted out for capital.
Yep.
And we bought Ford Explorers the last couple of issues.
Ford Explorers almost, matter of fact, they're a little more expensive than the Tahoes right now. And they're also having some issues. So currently, right now, Tahoes are our best buy.
Yeah.
If we can get last year's model, the 2020 model, they said it's going to save us a lot of money. Instead
And
of
best resale also,
Yes, sir. Resale is tremendous on.
way up.
Matter of fact, there's certain agencies that are able to buy so much per year. Every about 5 years, they 50,000-60,000 miles. They sell them and make money. And it's supporting their vehicle purchases each year.
From the perspective of working on one, the Tahoe is a way easier vehicle to work on. And the cost difference is, it will shock you. It used to be pretty even, but Ford is going way up over the Tahoe. But the new body line will kind of get closer back to equal, but with what they've been able to pull off with Freedom, with them holding a few back. We'll get to that later, but it's a benefit. They're more roomy, they're more flexible, way easier to work on. Also, we seem to have a knack for those Explorers getting targeted
Yes,
in incidents.
unfortunately.
Got a little bull out on them or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Tahoes won't be?
I don't know, but I'm
They're
ready to
gonna have
break
the same
that.
logo on the
They're
side.
brand new vehicles and they're getting popped.
Just saying.
They're bigger, they can see them better. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I'm ready to break the streak on it though.
Okay, within the capital for PD, 160, Chad?
Yes, sir. Should drop it down to 91.
Yeah, what all is in that number though, besides those,
Well, when on
I neglected to write it down.
$5,000 each for a patrol vehicle.
Yeah.
But the actual cost of them is, I believe, 30,600. That added money is the actual equipment that goes into them.
Okay.
It's uploading them.
Got you. Okay. Anything else on, PD? Oh, we are changing, what the overtime
Overtime, yes.
fees. Go ahead.
Two pluses for us on that. For one, it helps us stomp out our comp time, which is killing us at the police department. The atmosphere for law enforcement currently is not at its best. It's hard to get people to apply. And we have people that are actually leaving the profession, two in particular, that are getting out of law enforcement completely. They've already left. When they leave, we pay out a lot on comp time, and it just don't make sense. So we did, working with Jay, we were able to increase our overtime a little bit, and it'll probably keep us from doing that. For one, kind of payout. For number two, it attracts people. We're talking about doing a mandatory overtime, which will help us decrease our comp time. It'll give the officers an extra 4 hours of overtime per paycheck. And it's an incentive for them to be here, stay here, and also attract others. It's the same thing that all our local surrounding agencies are doing.
You'll notice on that overtime line item there, it's 178,000. The adopted budget that we're currently in right now is 90,000. That's not all overtime, as it says. It's actually going to be holiday pay, all their holiday pay, because obviously our officers are on the streets and do what they need to during the holidays. And it also includes all your festivals and stuff. So anytime they're working security or doing extra shifts, I say security, the extra shifts for the festival and things like that, that's overtime, and that's paid mandatory out of here as well. So it's not just
that up where it's zero.
Yeah, it's not just straight up overtime. It's actually there's several things that go into that. As we move into Encode, we'll be able to separate that a little bit differently with some line items. So it's not all in that lumped in there. But right now it's just one big number. But that's a large increase. I just wanted to be able to explain what that is. So, okay. Anything else for the PD piece on the budget that we're looking at?
We could talk about it now with animal control getting moved out of there as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that with Animal Center here in just a second. But of course, with Animal Control moving out of PD. Okay. Next page is page 10. That's just the total number on the PD. So we'll move over to the parks, page 11. That's where you'll see for the first time that column proposed. You'll see a lot of new things there: the supervision, the labor, longevity pay, salary adjustments. We've already moved. Of course, Kirk is in there in that area. We've already also moved. How many people did we move over there, Karen? Supervisor and two labor, two crew guys.
Actually, because we had one actually called like a park.
Yeah,
Kevin Keeling.
should have been 4 altogether.
So
Four
it's
altogether.
Kevin, Roper, Francisco, and Jay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are all, you'll see that that's the funding that's going directly into the park. A lot of it came away from the public services side. The rest of the budget's, very similar to what we've been doing with all the different grounds, different parks and all that. For now, we will talk about a little bit of that in the general construction fund and some of the projects that we're doing in the park here in a minute. Okay, makes sense? Questions on that? Page 11, parks. Okay, page 12, community center. It is exactly as it was last year. No changes. So that's the little community center over near Fair Park. There you go.
Yeah. No change.
Yeah, there have been a lot of changes. That is something in the future, though, long term. That's something we might want to look at. It's an asset over there that we can be doing some different things with it. But as of right now, in this current budget where we're sitting, we don't have anything in there. But that's something to kind of start some conversations on at some point. All right, now we'll move over to page 13. It's animal control. The biggest change there, of course, with Carissa coming on as director, we moved that up into the supervision piece and pulled her piece, her salary out of labor. So that's why, that's where the labor is, but we did add position or basically transfer it from PD over to the animal center, an animal control position. So they are one person heavier over there for the animal control piece. And so they're doing the full animal center and animal control, all back married together over there. So Chris is doing a good job, learning how to mess with snakes today because the PD didn't want them.
Can't imagine.
We don't either.
We don't want them.
No, City Hall, don't bring it down.
So anyway, everything else for the most part is, you're going to see several little increases across the board with different things. But that's because of what we're dealing with the animal center, what we're trying to accomplish. And so there's still some more conversations, plenty of conversations to be had. Chris and I stay in constant contact on what those different things might be related to training, related to facilities, and how we share things back with the county and those conversations. We still are trying to work through those. COVID kind of put a halt on a lot of that right now for us and delayed some things too. But we're still trying to take care of and do what we do with the animal center. And you guys have been seeing the reports, what Chris has been putting out every month. And I think we've accomplished the main goal. So the main goals of what we want to do. So there's still several out there that we're trying to achieve and good relationships. But anyway, the animal center and animal control all back together in one budget. So you'll see a little bit of an increase. We added that one position there back over there. Questions on animal center, animal control?
Are y'all still getting a fair amount of donations for the supplies? Is that cut down?
It's kind of slacked off. We were for about a month or two getting quite a few donations of goods that we were asking for on our list and through Amazon. That's been really helpful with everyone staying in. We've gotten a little bit more monetary donations sent to us through this COVID going on, but it's kind of slacked off this past month a little bit. So.
Anything else? Animal center, animal control? Okay. All right. Page 14, Lakewood Cemeteries. Any change there? Is anything as we run through this, guys, director? Oh, we're gonna run through some of this kind of quick right here. There's not a whole lot of change. Main Street on page 15, same number, 17,000 going back to them. That's the same number it's kind of been the last couple of years. Kind of helps them with some of their projects and what they have going on. All right, next page 16, special items. That first number is just the head coach sales tax that we had revenue on the first page. That's the money that John makes us sign a check back to him every month. He wants some funds over there. Let's see. Then one thing we did add there was the comprehensive plan. I spoke to the council about. We want to go ahead and budget. I've got $100,000 in there to work on a comprehensive plan. So there's a whole lot of conversations that have been happening here recently dealing with community development and headco and all kinds of things that's going on. And we're starting to see some property move a little bit. We've had some different conversations within the city as well. So it's time to really get this comprehensive plan done. We know it's expensive to get a good company to come in and lead us and hold our hand and do that. We're gonna have a lot of stakeholders involved across the community as we do this, because it is all encompassing on what we want to see and vision for our city when it comes to, EDC related things and industrial and manufacturing, to partnering back with the schools, to downtown and Main Street and parks and thoroughfares and different streets and just connectivity, sidewalks, all kinds of stuff that come into this. So we'll have plenty of citizen participation and we'll have somebody kind of lead us on that. But it's a extensive thing. It's a costly piece. So that's what that $100,000 is on a comprehensive plan. And we've got it into the budget. Even if we didn't have it into the budget, I told Karen when we were talking, this is something that's super, super important and we need to get it, and we'll just take it out of reserves if we need to. Just pay out a savings account for it. It's super important for us to plan for the next 20 and 30 years on for the city. So that's what that is. Brand new listed in there. And as soon as we, get the budget approved and we'll start moving on that immediately, this fall from a comprehensive plan standpoint. Question?
The sanitation services, that's change over to Republic.
Yep, that's what that is.
I mean, it will change, I guess, in January. We'll have waste connection for the first, October, November, December.
First quarter will stay in the budget the way it is. Contract changes in January. All right. Moving on. Insurance, anything, Karen, you want to touch on there? We can. Everything's, our health insurance, I'll hit it real fast if you want. You want to talk about it? No, I will. Okay.
Possible change?
Yeah, possible change on our health insurance. We're looking at, we're gonna have a call Friday to, kind of discuss a little bit more, but we're looking at substantial savings if we do make a change, which is good because the last few years it's just been increasing. So we have an opportunity here to save some money for the city. And we also have an opportunity to save some money for the employees on the premiums. So that's always a good thing. And the coverage of it's going to be just as good, if not better. So we're going to save some money there. So that's one of the main things you're going to see a decrease in across the board over last year. So we'll bring more information and details on that when we solidify that on what that change looks like. But the numbers are already reflecting it that you see. The numbers already reflect that possible change, which I think is for sure going to happen. But we need to tie it up on Friday, I guess. Does that sound about right, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Questions on insurance? All right, we'll move on to page 18, Street and Drainage Fund. Okay, this is where Davis gets all the money he can to be able to take on streets and do all the projects related to streets and drainage. The last couple of years with the bond going on, all those projects, all the streets, we've not funded this quite as much as in the past because of all that money going back in these other projects. And so we're going to start trying to push that back in there. We still have to do some, I think you have some other changes to be able to make, we talked about there, at that moment, it's going to move up a little, isn't it?
It'll move up a little, since Chad gave us some money.
Chad gave you some money, Davis, look there.
How about time?
Go around.
About 5 billion more to go.
Yeah, so we'll keep working towards trying to continue to put more money back into that because we get done with this bond, we just got plenty of other streets and different things that need to get done too. So drainage projects and whatnot, we can put whatever number we want there and we can spend it for sure. So that's the street and drainage fund. All right, then the next page is the expenditure piece of the street drainage fund. There's always just match up depending on what the projects are. First page is your revenue, second page was you're on page 19 is your expenditure. All right, page 20, we go to general construction fund. Whole different checking account. So the revenue, the main revenue that comes in there is the landfill gate proceeds. So anything out of the landfill, we get those monies back, and what do you call them? Royalties basically back to us. Well, yeah, for all the trash, royalties for trash, royal trash, tonnage. And so that's what that is. And so we'll continue to get that same thing once the contract changes to Republic. In their contract, they're going to continue to give us that same number back to us. That they're not going to take our city's trash to that landfill. They're going to take it to Kilgore, to Pine Hill, I think it is.
Still pay us.
But they're still going to pay us as if they're taking it there.
Which is a plus.
It is. So it doesn't change. That number doesn't change for us on the revenue side there. But the general construction fund is basically funded by that's the main piece. That's where the revenue comes into play. Okay. Now you'll notice on the bottom of that one, it says this fire station grant exhaust. There's a $66,500 grant that we're applying.
Fire Act grant, they usually rewarded September. With COVID going on, we have no idea. But it's for the exhaust from the fire trucks, like cancer causing, it's that type of system for both stations. And if, we budgeted for it, but if the grant comes in, of course, that money will go back in the general construction fund.
So if you turn the page to page 21, that's your expenditures on this general construction fund. And so I'll just go right to the very bottom right there, the $70,000 expenditure. That's what we're thinking it's going to cost to do those exhaust systems within the bays there at the fire department. So that grant should just about cover it if we're able to get that. If not, then it's, we still need to do that project. So we're crossing our fingers on that grant, but that's an expenditure there. Fire station, the 37,000 is for the
That's for the bunker gear room at both stations, to get it out of the truck bay and the exhaust, and closing the air system, cascade, the filling system, and the ice machine where the exhaust gonna get in there also. Firefighter and cancer was the top thing before COVID hit. So that, the mayor can tell you more, but TML, there's 13 or 14 of them last time counted, different types of cancer. If you get it firefighter wise, it goes to workers' comp. So this is cheaper than trying to prevent it.
Just a few years ago, there were only 5 cancers that your insurance would actually pay for if you were a firefighter. So through the court system, things happen, and they call them presumptive cancers. So with that being said, I think there's 13, 14? Anyway, there's almost 15 cancers now that are being paid by insurance because of the fact of the job. And by eliminating some of these hazards in the fire stations and in the trucks and more modern things, the insurance rates are going to go down. Simply because should be less cancer.
Yep.
With that being said, well, it's a good thing. That's money well spent. It's good for the employees too.
Yeah, you pay the money now, or you pay the money later, and you have a health problem with an employee.
Yes.
We're gonna pay the money now.
Yeah.
Take care of it.
Much
As you go down there on the general construction fund, Yates Park improvements. Davis, I think we've got another $30,000 on continuing Yates Park walking trails, $40,000 for fencing along New Mill Street right there at Yates Park as well, and then $75,000 for lighting out at Yates Park. So there's a tremendous investment we're trying to do out there and to Yates and get it up to standard. Mill Street looking really good.
Yeah.
And so as that park's gonna be, eyes are gonna be on it, just like they have been on these others. So that's what's been asking for a while. And y'all remember former Councilman Weatherton talking about that. That was part of his piece he wanted to see done. So
He asked about that the other day.
yeah, Mr. Search's district. So anyway, that's
Is there
a big piece.
another pavilion to be added over at Yates?
There's not
Not
one.
in this place.
Right.
Okay,
not one
I got you.
I think Keith Henderson Beautiful is doing it. I think.
Yeah, I heard that. I did. I just did.
Okay, let me sign that check. Okay.
No, I just, the walking trails getting done would be
Oh, that will.
following up with a lighting package. Then let's just see where it goes.
Got a walking trail nowhere.
All right, public service storage building with canopy. So that's 75,000. That's a new building that is going to be built out there at the warehouse to house decorations, a lot of Christmas decorations. The Santa Claus house will actually go under the roof. And the tree, of course, the tree.
Yeah.
The wreaths, all those things, and it'll be in a climate controlled environment, but not going to be in there in the dusty warehouse, covered up in the corner for the most part. What else do you want? What else will be used?
It'll have a lean-to there to the side of it that'll have a push wall and concrete, and we'll put dry storage under it.
Okay.
Materials that we need, road materials specifically that we typically have to load dump trucks and try to put enough of it inside the building whenever,
Keep it
you know,
dry.
bad weather, yeah. Once it starts raining,
Field material. Yeah, that's a good idea.
finding dry material is always a problem
Yeah, that's true.
Where will this be built at?
behind the warehouse there.
Plenty of room,
Back there,
room
just
everywhere.
further.
Yeah, by the, what used to be burn pit.
If you haven't been out there lately, you need to go drive out there and look. You'll think you're on a different lot. They have graded that thing and smoothed it out. And man, it just looks twice as big as it was. Y'all did a good job getting that thing smoothed out. It really looks good. Sure does. Got a lot more room and turnaround room.
Pass that along with guys.
Sure will.
So that's the amount they're working on.
How big will the building be? 40 by 40 or?
It was 40 by 70, I think. I'd have to look back at what I had on my notes, but yeah, I think that's what it.
Okay. And then right below that, police department vehicle canopy. Same thing, another canopy is gonna be built. If you see the cars that lined up back here behind the PD where they park, we'll put this new technology in the cars and different things. We just need to get them out of the sun and the heat. And so that's what that is just a big long canopy, am I right, Chad? That just go over the top back here where the PD cars park. And will you explain real quick, sorry, I'll hit you right off the top of your head, with the rotation of the fleet and how that works? You know, when people drive by and see the cars, it looks like there's a lot of cars, but I mean.
Like one time we had vehicles and those vehicles were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's obviously hard to keep up with the maintenance on them. Over the years, we've been able to expand our fleet to where they're only moving 12 hours a day, which has helped us on maintenance. And so that's why when you pull back here, you'll see several cars parked back here, and the spots that are missing are the guys that are on the street. But the canopy itself will help us with the technology that we get in the cars. Like you said, we're just gonna have tablets, printers, stuff like that in the vehicles, so the officers can stay out on the street more. And that's what that'll help with. As far as rotation, I don't know any more other than that.
Well, I mean, you said it. I mean, it's basically you have 12 hours on. So they're basically you have a night shift group of cars, and you have some that work on the days. It's kind of what happens. So they're on. They get 12 hours of rest instead of being
Prolong our fleet.
24/7. We were talking about that the other day. I just thought that was interesting to be able to explain because when people just drive by and they see cars, they're like, "Oh, these extra cars." The whole different group of cars. If you drive by later on, they're resting off and on. So, okay. And then we started at the bottom a while ago and talking about the fire station exhaust that. All right, that's general construction fund.
That is the fund where the AC would go in for City Hall.
Yes, that's where we'll put the air conditioner for the city hall. The $32,600 some odd dollars will be in that same fund we just talked about. In that general construction. Okay. Karen, I'll let you talk about the others as we run through here. These,
This is just our street bond. Of course, we had the little over 5 million for streets, and we're about to bid out phase 3 of that. And so I think we still have about 2 million, around 2 million.
Sounds right. Yeah, this will be the biggest
Lift.
out of the 3
And
contracts.
so, yeah. So Davis is gonna do, I think, a good job of spending every penny that.
Been over
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Probably a little bit more too.
Jeff,
Jail has to
yeah.
find some extra.
Yeah, what do you got left over?
Right.
Police department gave you some.
Yeah, there you go.
Dang, how much did you give him?
Not enough. Not enough.
It was only about $65. I mean, it was
Whatever it was, it wasn't enough.
we get a pothole with that maybe.
Penny count.
And we were doing really, really well on interest, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then the economy shut down,
What?
and so there went the interest rates. You know, we were earning like 1.36, which we still are on our current bank contract with Veribank, but like our Techstar accounts are down to 0.22, and they were up around 1.5. So that's just really sad for a numbers person who was very optimistic. But so kind of hopeful to have a little bit more, make a little bit more in interest to put more in the streets. And so that's why you don't see much budgeted, because we budgeted all already, and we're just, it's pretty much just the
Keep going.
interest that's getting earned on that.
Okay.
Street improvements. Civic Center is just, that fund has been, whenever the Civic Center was being built, so if there's not anything really going on in projects, then there's
Just kind of a little bit of interest or
yeah,
something going on.
just got a little bit of interest in there.
Okay.
And then we get to our equipment replacement. This is where Mr. Pace knows about the equipment replacement. Well, the city has a fund where we can buy different pieces of equipment for different departments, and then they'll take 3 or 4 or 5 years, 10 years to pay back that. So that's what the equipment replacement is, that particular fund. So the revenue you see coming back in is from the departments paying back previous purchases. So that's money coming from general fund, water, sewer, and that is where we bought the Christmas tree out of. So we got Main Street paying back equipment replacement for that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm about. Now we're on board.
So
Okay, I got you.
your proposed there would be the purchases for the 2020-2021. And that was starting with the fire department. I think we're getting Sunny, the new Tahoe
Yes.
for the fire department.
Be a pickup, but it's replacing Tahoe. Tahoe's gonna replace the 2006 model. Half tons of all three coats fell off of it.
Well, hand-me-downs going on. Deputy chief gets a good one,
A lot of
hand
that.
hands down, hand-me-down.
And then we got public services, a couple, taking on more of that mowing, so a couple more zero-turn mowers, water sewer half-ton pickup, equipment trailer, and then now that we're doing the parks and rec, some more equipment there for them, a couple more mowers, a pickup, and trailer for them. So those are the.
So this fund, like I said, it's good. We basically borrow money from ourselves, so it allows the departments just to turn around and pay it, put it on a payment plan like they would if they went to the bank. We just happen to be the bank. So they're able just to borrow it out of that fund and then just pay it back through future budgets. So that's always good for us to be able to do that on our own money and not have to go to the bank on different things, although we like banks. Especially right now when the rates are so low. Sometimes we like banks. Okay, questions on equipment replacement fund? All right.
Now this law enforcement,
Page
this
28.
is for the police department where they get, have drug seizures or any type of seizure that's been forfeited to them, and they can spend that money on certain items specific to law enforcement. So we're just gonna put a little bit of money in there, interest, and he's got 30 something. He's starting to get more because he's involved now with our.
Yeah, so we just had a $17,000 check.
Just kind of like a $17,000. It's like a share.
DEA task force.
That we haven't really been involved in the past, and we're getting back into.
Okay. Restricted law enforcement, all right. Page 30, Henderson Tourism Fund.
Tourism.
So your hotel motel tax, that's what that revenue is. This is the revenue page on page 30. Civic Center rental fees are in there. But if somebody's having to pay for security, that's what that revenue goes in there. Different things. You got the surf festival income goes in here, this spot as well. Christmas parade, and then that beginning balance is money that we have to put in there sometimes to get them to balance out. They're basically pulling money out of the savings account right there. So we're trying to look at that. That number is going to change because we've made some adjustments, and so that we think that's going to be down and more in the.
Because of Judy.
Yeah, because that's right. Judy left Friday. It was her last day, and we're absorbing her position. Laura Wilkerson's going to absorb her job description and duties into what she does, also with the Civic Center, which Laura was working hand in hand with Judy anyway, and helping her with Main Street and some of those things. So.
Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway,
What do you want to say?
You say it in front of everybody. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if we'd made a decision on the task force piece for the, you said Syrup Festival. Sorry, I was asking Cheryl.
And everybody.
Everybody.
so Syrup Festival. So Thursday we're gonna
find
we're
out.
gonna meet with Mr. Pace is gonna join me and the mayor, and we're gonna meet with Suzanne, county judge, maybe commissioner, and 2 or 3 others. We have James Pike is gonna join us as well, and we're just gonna start the conversation about the Syrup Festival and what that looks like. As we're seeing, you know, a lot of all these group things happening around us, they're getting canceled. We're kind of been holding off a sliver of hope because it's not till November. A lot of these other cancellations are in September and October, but we need to make a decision. The timeline on that, I think, is going to be that first week of August, really. So we're talking next 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks at the most, and which we need to make a decision on, because otherwise money's going to start flowing, decisions are going to be starting to be made that can, you know, people incur expenses. So we're going to start that conversation Thursday, and we'll keep council afloat what's going on there, and any input that you have to us one way or the other. Let you know whatever you think your thoughts are, concerns are, up, downs, good, bad. Is Letty texting you now?
No.
Tropical depression number 7 forms in the open Atlantic Ocean.
Pretty close.
There you go.
So Cersei's texting you.
Thanks, Letty.
I got a week or two to start stressing about that.
All right. So anyway, that's the update on the Christmas parade. Is that what you were asking about? I mean, not the Christmas parade, the Syrup Festival.
Now we started the Christmas parade.
Yeah.
It was.
Christmas parade.
We may go into that piece too.
Might as well.
Stop it.
Okay. All right. Next page are the expenses on the tourism page. That's page 31. So you'll notice the part-time on there is 21,400. That was what we paid Miss Judy with. So we still need to back that out. That 21.4 will go away on the part-time piece. But really across the board for them, pretty much the same budget as it was outside of that on the tourism side. Questions on that? Okay, page 32, Civic Center. There's not a whole lot different there. You know, no major things there. You know, of course, Civic Center's been hit a lot with the COVID, not being rented out. It is open right now, and because we want to try to keep some of that revenue flow going and have an opportunity for people to do some different things there and utilize that facility. There are still a lot of rules regarding face coverings and the social distancing requirements and no buffets and those type of things. So they are down in their revenue because they're not having a lot of rentals. A lot of people are canceling events.
And that building became 10 years old this year as well. So we're gonna next year start looking at seeing about rotating out and purchasing an air conditioner unit one at a time, because I believe there's 7 on that building. So we're gonna start looking at that for next budget. Jesse and I have already talked about working on that.
Okay. All right. Next page, 33 is Main Street Fund. That's the revenue that comes in. Basically, it's going to be donations and anything they do on their events, like the Mardi Gras piece. And then you'll see that 17,000 of transferred city funds over there. And then again, there's a beginning balance transfer for them as well. moving over, so they're eating into their fund a little bit. So, you know, something to continue to talk about is Main Street and what they're doing, and so they had some changes on that board and different things, so we're starting a new year up there, so those conversations are happening with that board on where to go. Expenditure side of that same fund or of the Main Street piece, page 34. We did make an adjustment there on that advertising. The fourth line item says $3,000 on the proposed column. We're going to make that 1,000. They don't do a lot of advertising. What they do is going to be social media or website related things like that. So we're going to make that adjustment, move that down a little bit. Okay, page 35, general debt piece. Anything, Karen, you want to hit with that page?
Just showing our,
That's the INS piece.
this is where I'll make that adjustment there under the current tax of 585, since we have a balance of, you know, that one we're carrying a little over 100,000 in there. So we basically be showing like 100,000 coming out of beginning balance, and then the 485 coming from our INS tax with the tax collections. And then there's our payments, so it shows you what our principal payments are on the bonds that we have.
Yep, page 36.
And yeah, page 36 shows the principal payments and the interest payments on those.
Okay. All right, that's the general fund. I didn't even talk about Randy.
Water, sewer.
Yeah.
We're good. That's good.
Looks good. You know, the main piece on the water, sewer, we, on the water and the sewer fees, you know, we're looking at those like we looked at the last couple of years. We know we've been extremely low when it comes to the cost of what we do with water and sewer. The charge back to consumers on that has been extremely low and been behind the ball. So previous 2 years, I think we did a 10% increase just across the board on rates. What you're seeing here in the proposed column is doing the same thing. It shows it's assuming a 15% increase across the board. I am looking at some different options related to different tiers, even different meter sizes and what we can do there with different base rates based off of meter sizes. Right now, our first 2,000 gallons of water is the minimum usage service fee, and then you don't get another rate jump until you get above 12,000 gallons usage. And a lot of places will have some other tiers in there. It'll jump a little differently at 5,000 or at 7,000 or 8,000 or 10 or whatever. So we're going to look at some different opportunities there for us to be able to do that without just a straight across the board increase, but we know that still needs to have some type of increase. You know, we've been talking about that for a while. We are going to be doing, we will tackle that and get that done this year, the rate study. There's a lot of data that goes into that. Davis and Randy both have that spreadsheet now. We've got to start entering the data of linear feet of every line that we have and every meter that we have and every pump and whatever. And enter it in there, and it'll spit us out the data that we need in the end to know where the rates really need to be. So looking forward to doing that. But with everything else going on and COVID happening at the same time, we just weren't able to get that together for this budget, but still in the process of doing that. So we'll truly know where we are. But this, just for purposes of looking at it, it does show a 15% across the board increase on that revenue, not necessarily on rates by themselves, but it's on the revenue piece. And so we figure out what that looks like. In the end, if you end up going to, we're going to go to the back of the book for a second. Page 45. Page 45 is the end of the water sewer fund, and you see $340,359. That's what we're projecting to be the in the black for the water and sewer fund. And this will be the first projection in the black without digging into the savings or the red, going in the red in several years, right, Karen?
Yes.
So that water sewer fund used to have about $2 million in it back 5 years ago, something like that. And it's down to about $1 million. So it's cut in half in just that time. But that's how far back we've been on rates. But also just usage. We've had droughts, or non-droughts. We've had wet seasons. And so we've not had a lot of usage with irrigation. Usage is a whole lot of it, for sure. But in the end, I just want y'all to be able to see that. We'll maybe run out of time here in a minute, but I want to be able to show that piece too. Where are we at so far on water?
Yeah, I printed off, and you all are welcome to take and look over, but I went ahead and went back like 2016, so you can kind of see some history. I mean, but right now, like I say, if things continue like they're going, I think we'll even make our water sewer budget this year on revenue, because it's been looking pretty good for the June and July billing. So if we can get August and September up around in that 300,000 range, that would be really, really good.
Even, does that even include with Bradshaw? When they start shutting down, I mean, I know they're ramping down.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Yeah, this is just based on with Bradshaw. So yeah, I don't know what the Bradshaw impact is going to be as far as overall until I guess they're going to.
Their major water and sewer use.
Sure.
They can look at their bill, see what their revenue is, and so what we're losing there.
Yep.
So there'll be water and sewer.
That's a moving target for sure. The main thing I want to do this rate study for is, we got to know what it costs us. We got to know what it costs us to produce a gallon of clean water and get it to where it's supposed to go, get it to a meter. And then same thing on the wastewater side. We got to know what it costs us to treat that. Once we know that, you adjust everything off of that based off of your usage, all your manpower and equipment, everything else that goes into it. So that's going to be a big tool for us. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of data in there that we have to enter in. But ultimately, that's the only way we're really going to truly know what to be charging. It's one thing to look at other cities. That's a good tool around you, similar sized cities. If you look at that, TML has a survey right now, and you can look at similar sized cities, and you're going to see we're on the bottom end of that. And that's one comparison tool for sure to look at. But everybody's system is different. Not everybody has kind of a 50-50 deal with well water and surface water. Not everybody has a 20-mile line coming from Sabine River or shared pump station with Kilgore. Not everybody has two wastewater plants. I think we're fortunate from a geographical standpoint and how we are that we don't have a lot of lift stations. There are a lot of cities that have tons of lift stations when it comes to sewer, and that costs a lot of money and electricity to pump. We don't have a lot of that. There's a lot of towns that are a quarter the size of Henderson that have 5 times as many lift stations. So that's a good thing, for us. We've got a lot of good things going for us there, but we just really got to put the numbers on them, get the rates right. Or we're not just consistently trying to close our eyes and throw darts at it.
Very few people have the availability of extra water in case we need it, which would be like Stryker. Very few cities.
Well, we see what kind of fight they're having up north.
I know. We know.
High points, Randy, for you.
30 or 37.
Whichever one. Oh, yes.
I just see on the 30/30 the management people went up $100,000, so that was a big issue on 30.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But that basically stayed about the same, like you said. But on 45, we'll go with wastewater. You'll see some increases on permits.
What page are you on for the
44?
Okay.
But you'll see some increases for TCEQ, the north side, south side plant, lab testing. I mean, we're in the next year, both plants are up for renewal. So there'll be extra lab testing, additional equipment. TCEQ charges us a permit fee, plus the additional permit fee we pay yearly for when we renew permits. So permits last every 3 years, and it usually takes 4 to 5 months to get these things. Matter of fact, I just got the first email from TCEQ. I think I seen your email today, Cheryl. that, north side is up for renewal in March. So, and the south side is due in August, so it's gonna be back to back.
Right. So you get them done, get them out of the way.
It's a pretty long process and very time consuming, so even with Stokes and Associates helping us, so. So that's,
6-month process on that, isn't it? 6 months?
yes.
Yeah.
And then, you'll see, I think there's in capital or, on the water sewer construction fund, there's $147,000 for our rehab of the, sludge tank. It's been in service for 12, 13 years. And you can just imagine what it holds, sludge. So it's a decanter. It decants all the solids to the bottom and decants the water to the top. And we pull off the bottom to thicken the sludge for the belt press. But like I said, it's time for it to be rehabbed.
Okay.
And then on the water side, it basically stayed the same except for the filter control valves. I think it was for
167?
Yes. Each filter has 6 control valves that operate the flow coming in and out, helps backwash, clean the filter out. And these the valves range from either 4-inch all the way up to a 24-inch valve. So prices are different. I mean, they've been in operation for right at 20 years. So they're starting to fail, every one of them. So we have to manually open and close with the pipe wrench. So it's time to do some upgrades and some changes.
There, he was talking about the water sewer construction fund that was on page 47, and the majority of that has to be funded by the water sewer fund. So we don't really have another revenue source for the water sewer construction projects, other than a little bit of interest and those that come and done it there. A little bit of revenue from that, but the majority, so that's just another reason for the need for the increase in the water sewer rates.
Staffing, body count?
Down 1. We had Jared Henderson was joining the military, so I'm down 1. You know, I think he turned in his paperwork a week and a half ago.
But we'll be replacing that position though.
Yes.
So as far as budget and funding, it's the same number.
Same.
Okay. Any questions for water sewer? We kind of ran through that a little fast. There's a whole lot, most everything's the same in there, other than his stuff's all big ticket items, for the most part. But
Pay for these management fees.
right. He gets some good managers though.
That's right.
All right. What are you laughing at? Funny. A little humor in that. All right. What have I missed? Managers, directors, anything? Your departments? No? I will say that, in working through this process, again, directors, we told them up front, everybody, all the departments, they knew where we were in relation to COVID and what possible revenues things were. So they went to work real quick. And what they sent, that's generally the first time budget piece from department heads, it has all the wish list stuff on it. They did a good job of not going crazy over the top. In fact, I'll say that I think everything that we really want to do and we talked about from the department side that you guys wanted is in the budget. We figured out a way to get it in there. So we didn't have to do a bunch of cutting and chopping to get there. So again, I appreciate the directors and the department heads doing what you did to get there to start with, instead of all the other headache of trying to figure out who gets what. So everybody's worked together real well on that piece. So, council, questions? I know there'll be a lot. That's a whole lot to take in. And there'll be more time to discuss for sure, but I kind of wanted to have a chance to kind of run through page by page since we didn't get to do a whole strategic plan meeting like we wanted to. But a lot to digest, drinking from a rusty fire hose over there. Sure. So,
I'll just say, if you want, if you're having trouble sleeping or whatever at night, you know, look over the water sewer history from 2016, so you kind of see.
Sorry, I had no sleep last week.
All right.
Good for a bit.
for a little bit. All right, well, if no questions on that, then I guess, Mayor, we can entertain a motion to adjourn from this one, and then we'll pick back up here shortly on the council meeting.
Okay.
Or whatever y'all want.
Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
So
from the
moved.
budget? We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Coach Pate. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay, we're adjourned
All right.
at 5:50 would be close enough.
Lady,
Let's see.
we can go ahead and log on to the new one. We'll do that here too, and then we'll just delay the start of the next one. We'll pull down the camera and stuff here.
Okay.
So, yeah, we.
Text me when you're ready for me to make your audio and video okay.